So Mickey Harte has been in charge of Tyrone for 17 years as the manager of Tyrone at a senior level. Of course, he did serve as the under-21 manager at a certain period of time before he took over as senior manager in 2003. And of course, he was also the manager of the minor Tyrone side as well. So he certainly had a lot of experience within Tyrone. He has been involved with Tyrone football for the past 28 years. So he is a man who has so much ties with Tyrone. He's won 3 All-Ireland titles. He's won 6 Ulster titles at senior level. And of course, he's also won All-Ireland titles at minor level and at under-21 level. And of course, he also won the National League at senior level as well. So he's a manager that has won absolutely everything there is to win in Gaelic football as a manager. And you know, it is a bit of a cause for debate, Mickey Harte. He has split a lot of opinion in the past, I would say, year or two or so. A lot of Tyrone people and Tyrone fans are now really beginning to think that, of course, it is now time for Mickey Harte to step down. I think, in all honesty, in my opinion, he probably should have stepped down after the 2018 All-Ireland final loss to Dublin. I think even some would say that he probably even should have stepped down before then. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to GA Fan TV. I hope you're all doing well, and we are back today with another video today discussing should Mickey Harte step down as Tyrone manager, or should he be sacked? Should he be gone? Should it be time for Tyrone to go their separate ways? And of course, I know first of all, you are not thinking about Mickey Harte. You were thinking, why do I have no hair? What's happened? What has happened to my hair? Well, in all honesty, lads, I mean, you know, it's you should never try and cut your own hair during this lockdown. It just does not end well. Whether it's your missus that does it, your mom, your dad, or even yourself, in my case, it just did not work out as well, unfortunately. In fact, it ended up horrendously bad. And to be fair, you know, the first 2 times I cut my hair, I done a good job. I did alright, you know, it wasn't too bad. But unfortunately, 3rd time around, I failed miserably. And, you know, I'm barely respectable now in any way with this sort of haircut. But look, listen, we'll get on with it. And of course, we're not here to discuss my hair and my problems. We're here instead to, of course, discuss Mickey Harte. Because, well, yeah, he's been Tyrone manager for quite a long time, like what we were saying just there. 17 years, of course, as manager. And he has, of course, achieved a lot of respect in the game from the people in Tyrone. I think from everyone in Gaelic football, all have a huge amount of respect for Mickey Harte and what he has achieved. As we were saying before, he is the first manager to win an All-Ireland with Tyrone. Of course, the only manager when he led Tyrone to All-Ireland success in his first year in charge, in fact, in 2003. And that was a huge moment for Mickey Harte. And you know, he did inherit a very good side, but of course he brought through a lot of those players at minor level and at under 21 level. And of course I will make a more extensive video covering that, covering the story, covering how Tyrone got to where they were, in fact, because in those mid-2000s they were just a phenomenal team. You had Owen Mulligan, who on his day could beat anyone. He scored one of the best goals ever scored in Croke Park. Of course, you had Peter Canavan, the great Peter Canavan, of course, one of the best players to ever grace the pitch. And of course, he'd played in the 95 All-Ireland final. You had players like Brian Dooher, Sean Kavanagh, just huge amount of stars all over this Tyrone pitch, of course. And Mickey Harte very well responsible for that, winning them 3 All-Irelands in a time period as well where Kerry were at their absolute best as well, with the likes of Colin Cooper, Kieran Donaghy, to name a few, of course. And yeah, Tyrone, absolutely fantastic period. And Mickey Harte undoubtedly had a huge success in that. His defensive structure, the way he set up the team, the blanket defence set up, they were highly aggressive. You could tell that Mickey Harte wanted his team to be as aggressive as possible, which of course has rubbed some people the wrong way along the way, and I can understand that as well. The success he achieved during those years, the way his side would just out-battle teams, they would press at every given moment when the likes of Kerry or Armagh had the ball, They were just a nightmare team to play against. And I even remember as a Dublin fan, Tyrone were always the one team I never wanted Dublin to play, because Tyrone would just bully Dublin. They would school them. They were just they just outmaneuver everyone in terms of physicality. The only times Tyrone were really beaten were in games in those kind of years, were in kind of one-off games in surprise defeats, like the one against Meath, for example, or when they lost to Mayo. But of course, as we entered into the previous decade between 2010 and 2020, unfortunately this is where it did go wrong for Mickey Harte and for Tyrone. And of course, not all his own doing. Of course, you had a hugely successful side that started to retire around the start of that decade. Of course, I think losing to Dublin in 2010 in an All-Ireland quarter-final in many ways was the start of the shift between Tyrone being one of the great sides in the previous decade, and now you had a team like Dublin who were slowly beginning their dominance in the All-Ireland scene. And unfortunately for Mickey Harte, it was very difficult for him to keep up with that. They did continuously produce some players along the way. They were 2015 All-Ireland under-21 champions, of course, Tyrone, and they did produce a couple of players from that team. Cathal McShane, of course, one of the most notable players. He was one of their star players in that season. So they have still continued a lot of success at underage level and continue to bring through some more players. But unfortunately for Tyrone, it has gone very stale. And as one of the people even said on when I put up an Instagram post about Mickey Harte, one of the comments was stale bread. And you can kind of see that. Just 3 Ulster titles in that 10-year period, unfortunately. It hasn't gone too well. A lot of the times they've been beaten in Ulster semi-finals, and they've given a lot of poor performances as well along the way. A lot of the time in the league they've been inconsistent. And as we said before, despite reaching the 2018 All-Ireland final, that has really been the only thing that Tyrone fans can be happy about. And of course, when you look back at 2018, you know, you really only had Dublin or Mayo were the only 2 real teams back then. Kerry were in transition. Donegal were still finding their feet and very much in transition. And of course that year Mayo were beaten by Kildare in a shock result. So the door was there for a side to reach an All-Ireland final that wouldn't normally. And of course Tyrone were that team. You know, let's not forget they played Monaghan in the All-Ireland semi-final and were almost beaten. I do think when you look back, although Mickey Harte has had a very successful career as Tyrone manager, in my opinion, I do think it is now the time to go. I think he does now need to step down as Tyrone manager. It is time now for someone else to come in to take over the hot seat and really try to get this Tyrone team back playing football again and back playing to their best of their ability. I do think they can very well compete for Ulster titles. They can reach Ulster finals. They can beat Donegal on their day, in my opinion. Tyrone are in danger, in my opinion, if they stick with Mickey Harte, of being left behind, because we are seeing some other teams in Ulster really starting to gain more momentum. Donegal are getting better. Armagh are starting to produce a lot of very good young talented players, and we are seeing some more and more. You know, Monaghan are starting to come back a little bit now under new management, and we've seen that, for example. Malachy O'Rourke, great Monaghan manager, won 2 Ulster titles as Monaghan manager, won their first Ulster title in I think 25 years or something like that in 2013. You know, you're looking at it and you're thinking, you know, he stepped down last year because he realised that he can't get the best out of these players anymore. He cannot continuously, and that happens in everything in life. You know, after a while, unfortunately, some things just aren't meant to be and aren't meant to happen. And I think in this situation with Tyrone, I think it's a very similar situation. And I actually think Mickey Harte stepping down would be of benefit to Tyrone to bring in a new manager and a new face with new ideas, of course. And of course, I mean, the question would be, if Tyrone did adopt this approach, you know, whenever the GA does return, it does look like Mickey Harte's going to stay on, of course, but let's say he retired at the end of the season and he left Tyrone, who would be the man who would come in to replace him? In my opinion, I think I would go with Fergal Logan. He, of course, was the manager back in 2015 when they won the Under-21 All-Ireland Championship. He's had a significant level at underage level, managing the Under-21 side, and of course he's been on the scene in Tyrone for a long time. He played in the 1995 All-Ireland final defeat to Dublin, so he has been around. He's been around the block, and I think he would be a great manager for Tyrone. He'd be a fresh face. He's worked with a lot of these players already, Cathal McShane, of course, being one of them. So I think that would be a good choice. Of course, there has been mentions of Peter Canavan maybe getting into management. But of course, as we all well know, he's very much well involved with punditry, more so than Gaelic football. Could be something for him to explore further down the line, but I think Fergal Logan would certainly get the shout in my eyes right now. And I think, another one of the main reasons, I suppose, why Mickey Harte should step down as Tyrone manager, I think, is because he built that team, of course, that won the All-Ireland in 03, 05 and 08. And obviously he then had to build this second team. He had to build a team again after all those players retired. And I'm looking at the team he's built again, and I don't think he can get much more out of them. I don't think he can bring through more players. He will attempt to, of course. He will try and bring through more young players as time goes on. But I think, we're almost talking about Mickey Harte needing to rebuild another team as Tyrone manager, and I just don't think he should be the man to do that. I think now should be the time to bring in a fresh face, and like Fergal Logan, for example. But anyway, lads, that is going to be the end of the video. Do let me know down in the comments below, should Mickey Harte step down as Tyrone manager, or should he, maybe he should stay on for a few years. Maybe he will turn things around. Maybe he has a plan. And, let's not forget, he has won 3 All-Irelands and has, did, of course, bring this Tyrone side to a 2018 All-Ireland final. But in my opinion, I just don't see it happening right now. And I think we are seeing a resurgence from a lot of other counties as well. Donegal, Kerry, Galway, for example, and even a few other sides in Ulster. So I think if Tyrone aren't careful, it could get a lot worse under Mickey Harte before it gets better, and I think that is why they should look to make the change. But anyway, lads, do let me know down in the comments below what you lads think. And yeah, lads, I hope you're all staying safe, staying healthy, and of course I will speak to you all soon. Goodbye.